Welcome back, focused learners. Okay, so today we're unpacking something that honestly, every single educator, instructional designer, or just anyone who's deeply passionate about how people actually learn absolutely needs to know. We're going to take what might sound like a dense pedagogical document and transform it into a highly actionable toolkit for your classrooms, your workshops, or your training sessions. Get ready, because we are looking at the ultimate architect's blueprint for designing incredible learning experiences.
All right, let's dive right into this. We're looking at DepEd's Learning Design Principles Master Matrix. And yeah, I know, taking a glance at this comprehensive 8-part matrix, it kind of looks a little intimidating at first, right? There's a lot of text, definitely some jargon, and a whole lot of expectations packed into those rows. But stick with me here, because this holds the blueprint for building an absolute masterclass. It's not just some theoretical wish list. It is a grounded, step-by-step guide to how we can structure environments so that true learning actually happens.
To make this whole thing practical, we're chunking these 8 principles into 4 logical, thematic phases. First, designing clear instruction. Second, checking and reinforcing mastery. Third, cultivating learner independence. And finally, fostering meaning and inclusion.
So let's jump into phase 1, designing clear instruction. This is all about setting the foundation for learning.
Before we can expect anyone to master complex ideas, we've got to establish exactly what we're actually trying to achieve together. The very first principle is clear goals in teaching. And I want you to really notice the actionable verbs used in practice here. Describe, explicitly communicate, model, and use. Clarity isn't just about what you say out loud, it's about describing precise learning goals so everyone knows the destination. It's about explicitly modeling processes clearly. It's the difference between just telling someone to bake a cake versus actually showing them how to fold the batter. If you want a learner to do something, you have to show them how, using accessible language and concrete examples that anchor those abstract concepts right in reality.
Now, what's really interesting is this specific definition of scaffolding. We so often mistake scaffolding for a permanent crutch or just, making things easy. But the source material defines it beautifully as providing initial guidance, prompts, specific examples, and structured practice. It is deliberate temporary support. You build the scaffold to help construct the building, but the ultimate goal is always to take that scaffold down.
Let's actually visualize that process. Step 1 is where you're doing the heavy lifting, providing that guidance, the prompts, and the specific examples. Step 2 moves into structured practice. This is where the learner starts doing the work, but with you right there to catch them if they fall. And step 3, well, that's the magic moment. You gradually release responsibility. You step back. And this isn't abandonment. It's a calculated journey that takes a student from complete dependence to full independence and competence. So let's see how this builds into our next phase.
Moving on to phase 2, checking and reinforcing mastery. This is where we ensure the structure holds up.
Okay, so we've poured the concrete, we've set the foundation. Now, once the initial instruction happens, we absolutely need continuous feedback and memory-building techniques. Think about the difference between these two approaches regarding checks for understanding. The traditional approach often limits checking to the final assessment portion of a lesson plan. The big test at the end when it's frankly too late to change course. But the DepEd principle demands we conduct low-stakes, timely, formative checks throughout the lesson. Why? To gather feedback and make immediate instructional adjustments. True checks for understanding are ongoing, low-stakes pivots. If they don't get it at minute 10, you adjust at minute 11, rather than waiting for the final exam.
Next up is the principle of active retrieval and spacing. And this brilliantly illustrates how learning is not confined to a single day or a single module. To make it stick, you must purposefully revisit prior competencies across your lessons. You bring yesterday's concept into today's problem. By spacing out this active retrieval, you do so much more than just prep them for a test. You strengthen retention, build genuine mastery, and foster a much deeper appreciation of the learning over time.
All right, phase 3, cultivating learner independence. This is all about shifting the heavy lifting over to the students.
This is where a really major shift happens. We're moving away from the teacher's mechanics and focusing on empowering the learners themselves. A massive part of this is metacognition and self-awareness. Metacognition simply means helping students think about their own thinking. You achieve this by asking simple questions, like, what was the hardest part of this task for you? Actively integrating opportunities for goal setting, planning, monitoring, and reflection means learners become aware of exactly how they learn best. They develop greater self-regulation. They aren't just sitting there waiting for you to tell them what to do next. They are actively driving their own progress.
Now, independence also, paradoxically, requires other people, which brings us to social learning.
This means using structured discussions and collaborative activities, and notice the word structured there. This isn't just throwing students into group work and hoping for the best. Deliberate social learning is designed to actively broaden learners' perspectives, deepen their understanding through debate, strengthen their communication skills, and, perhaps most importantly, foster a vital sense of belonging in the learning community.
And that brings us to our final phase, Phase 4, fostering meaning and inclusion, which is how we shape the broader classroom environment. That idea of belonging means we need to make the learning space welcoming, profoundly purposeful, and deeply meaningful for absolutely everyone in the room. So the crucial point is captured perfectly in values and purpose integration. We cannot teach in a vacuum. We must design learning experiences that are personally meaningful to the students sitting in front of us. This means explicitly connecting your academic content to values formation, citizenship, and socio-emotional learning. It means tying the lesson to their community aspirations and their cultural identity. Because when a learner actually sees themselves and their community reflected in the material, engagement absolutely skyrockets.
Finally, we reach the principle of inclusion, which is heavily rooted in universal design for learning. This means we ensure our materials and experiences provide multiple means of representation, basically showing the information in different ways. We provide multiple means of engagement to tap into different interests. And we provide multiple means of action and expression, letting students show what they know in a way that actually works for them. Inclusion is the active process of balancing productive challenges with appropriate supports, specifically to remove any barriers to participation and learning. Everyone gets a seat at the table, and everyone gets the tools they need to eat.
Wow, we've unpacked an incredible blueprint today, haven't we? Moving from clear instruction and ongoing mastery checks to building independent, socially connected, and included learners. So I want to leave you with this to chew on before your very next lesson plan. Are you simply delivering content, or are you truly designing for learning and inclusion? Think about how you can apply just one of these principles tomorrow to shift from a content deliverer to a true learning architect. Keep learning, keep designing, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.